Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
We've been expecting you.
It's Monday. Time for our maven of the supernatural, Denise Pridemore. This is the Paranormal Pride. Join to listen and chat live on WBHM-DB.com or Spreaker app. Search WBHM-DB every Monday at 7 p.m. Central for your supernatural paranormal fix. Welcome to the Paranormal Pride, where the show is about the guest and the listener.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore. I know you're shocked. We're here and we're alive, and we're live tonight with my guest, Lynda Quirino. She's coming back to visit us again, and just so you know, she's one of my favorite guests. I love having her on, and we've become friends over this time, so it's even more special at this point. So welcome, Lynda, back to the Paranormal Pride.
It is such a pleasure to be here. And you know what? You are one of my favorite hosts. So there you go. Right back at you.
Oh, good. I'm glad. So what have you been working on since you haven't been able to go out and about? Because I know in Canada, more things have been shut down than here in the States.
Oh yeah, we've been shut down since I think it was the day after Christmas. I mean, we all shut down. So you can't eat out in a restaurant here. You have to get takeout. Well, where we are anyway, in Ontario. You can't really do much of anything. The stores are closed except for, the big box stores. And yeah, you're right. We really can't congregate. We've got laws about how many people can be in a room at the same time. It's a little crazy.
That is, I mean, of course, we've been traveling. And I know a lot of people find that odd with as much as we've been traveling this year, because we've been to Vegas twice since the shutdowns, been down to Alabama. So, and all those places in between because we drove. And so it's a little bit different, really. I mean, we get to experience each state and their oddities in the shutdown and how different it is.
I love that. I mean, I have to say, before we were shut down, I went to visit my sister, who's about 4 hours away in Ottawa. And that was a really nice experience because I got to experience a different set of four walls, Denise.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it does make a difference. Because I know a lot of our stuff has been all family.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's.
I mean, we
right?
haven't we haven't requested to see any of our friends or any of that. Like when we go to Vegas, we got a lot of friends there, but we did not request to see any of them because a lot of them are. Well, their governor has terrified the living daylights out of them.
Right.
You can have 4 people at a table in a restaurant.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, well, then the kids can sit over there and us adults can sit over here. I mean, that, and, shutting down swimming pools. I'm like, doesn't chlorine kill germs? Isn't that the whole point?
Right.
But they said that their local, a lot of people bought swimming pools this year. They'd never had bought them before, had them installed, all that stuff out there. And so it was different seeing everything. I mean, we even went on the Las Vegas Strip, and usually it's, you're shoulder to shoulder with, hundreds of people you would never be shoulder to shoulder with in any other given time. And
Right.
it's a totally different, it's scary. I mean, not because it's empty, but because the people that did show up aren't the cream of the crop. We'll say a lot of drunk people.
I bet.
So
that's pretty incredible.
So when are you guys scheduled to reopen up there?
Well, from what I understand, some things may be reopening next week. I think it was February 10th or something like that, but I know that they're reevaluating all the time. I mean, now, especially with the vaccines coming out, and I mean, who knows what the heck is going to happen? All I know is that, we've been at the Georgina Paranormal Society, we've been a little depressed because we can't get out, we can't do anything, we can't go to people's houses, we can't do anything in person, which makes it a little bit difficult. But I think we're not alone. I mean, I know a lot of paranormal people out there are having the same problem. I'm sure you are too. It's hard.
Well, it is. I mean, like here, we went to a Paracon in November. We've been out investigating. There's some places we go where they don't require masks at all for anybody.
Wow.
It's really different, like I said, from state to state and even locality to locality. I mean, it's that minuscule, the differences. There's a restaurant we have a McDonald's at one end of town where you can go through the drive-through or you can walk in, but you can't eat there. And you better wear a mask or they're going to kick you out. Now, at the other end of town is a Mexican restaurant. No masks required. You walk in and out there all day long. They don't care. And so like I said, that's even just in one town. So I don't know. It is what it is. And we plan on investigating here soon with, close friends. We even had a Christmas dinner with a bunch of people in another town, and we all came from different places, and not one of us wore a mask, and not one of us got sick.
Wow.
But
Good
of
for
those
you.
people, though, 2 had the coronavirus before. Let's see. No, actually 3 had been diagnosed with the coronavirus, and Ron and I believe we already had it. So as far as that goes, we're good. And Leah, when she went to the hospital the other day, her doctor, she said, what's the results of my coronavirus test? And he goes, oh, don't worry about it. It's rare. It's rare. They rarer than they'd let you to believe. And this is from an OBGYN. He's telling her that he hasn't had anyone test positive for it.
Well, it's like everything else. Who do you believe?
Well, I'm going to go with I know who I believe. I believe I believe facts. So exactly. I just want facts. I'm not a fear monger, but I do have some friends right now that have it, and I did have a friend that passed from it. My cousin just got over it, and his wife.
Wow.
And so it's, like I said, it's not that I don't believe that it exists, because I do. I just don't know how bad it truly is. That makes sense, right?
Yep. Totally makes sense. 100%.
Because like I said, I'm pretty sure we had it just last December. So
wow.
Yep. Before they even knew that it existed.
Yeah.
So let's face at least in the United States.
Yeah, it's been around a while. I mean, that's the thing. That's what we're all hearing. It's been around a while. But you know what, Denise? I'll tell you, we got together in October when restrictions were a little bit more eased. got together with 2 other paranormal teams, which
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of fun. And we went to Picton and did a huge investigation of Prince Edward Heights, which used to be a military base. And then
Mm-hmm.
it was changed. It became a military hospital, or a hospital, really, for
Mm-hmm.
people with developmental disabilities. So that was fun. It's abandoned. It's now a paintball location. And we got together, as I said, with 2 other teams, and we had a really great time. I mean, we followed all the protocols for COVID-19,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a lot of fun. And I think that's the memory that we all have, because after that, everything kind of locked down and we weren't able to get out. But we're still helping people online, still getting phone calls, still getting emails, still getting messages. So that helps. I mean, we can always do it that way.
Yeah. And so during your investigation, did you get any good evidence?
Well, we actually got some interesting things happen. It was very interesting because we went on October 3rd. There were 3 teams. We had walkie-talkies. At one point during one of the buildings, there's 3 buildings, so you hear a theme here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
At one point during one of our walkabouts in one of the 3 buildings, my walkie-talkie went off. I mean, by itself, for no apparent reason. We only had, I think we were all on channel 4, but my walkie-talkie, for some reason, went onto channel 33 by
Mm-hmm.
itself. So that was kind of interesting. And we had all of these 3s. It was just a weird night, but we had a lot of our equipment going off, inexplicably. Can't talk tonight. And we also had some strange things happen in terms of one team would get something really active in one building, and then another team would go in and it would be kind of quiet. And I mean, we see that sometimes anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but it was really interesting how we all had different experiences, but usually it was an equipment issue. I didn't get any great EVPs, nothing fantastic. A few things on the spirit box, but mostly it was equipment and it was feelings, a lot of feelings. And I think it was because there's a whole lot of residual energy there from when it was a hospital. And there were some suicides there, and some not very nice people. So I think, there's a heck of a lot of residual energy in there that I think we all picked up on. So we were all very attuned to it. We also brought a friend of mine, April Sarah, who is a psychic. She is incredibly intuitive, and she as well was sort of feeling different feelings walking through different places. You know what that's all about.
Oh, yeah. So do people have experiences there while they're doing paintball events?
Well, what's interesting? I should ask Wes Coleman about that. Wes Coleman is the man who arranged it all for us. He is the bigwig with COPS, which is the Correctional Officers Paranormal Society. Don't you love that?
Oh yeah, we have a team here called something along their acronym is COPS as well.
Love it.
So.
But he would probably know more than me because he's the one who arranges the paranormal part of the equation. But he knows the person who owns the paintball facility quite well. So next time I will ask him that. But I do know that he rents it out to different paranormal groups. And, people have had incredible experiences there. But I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting to know if, the people going around shooting people with paintballs ever feel weird things.
Well, maybe they see a spirit and they try to not realize it's a spirit and shoot at it.
You never know. You never know.
I actually had a really interesting phone call the other day. I was at the grocery store on Saturday, and the lady who does my hair called me just out of the blue. Okay. So I was like, okay, what in the heck's wrong? You know, because I have babysat our kids in the past and things like that. And my daughter used to live in her basement, and not because she was locked down there for any reason,
Right.
but she rented a room. And so I'm walking around the grocery store and I'm listening to her, and she goes, I saw a spirit. And she
Oh,
started telling me about her. And she goes, I've never done that before. I've never been, she was always thought when you were talking, she goes, that you were just, that it was neat, but that maybe you were BSing me somehow. She goes, now I know you're not. And I was like, why would I BS about something like that? I know there's probably people that do, but I said, I'm not that kind of person. And she goes, oh, now I know that. And she goes, well, what do I do? And I said, before you forget all about everything that you saw, you need to write it all down, details and all.
right.
I said, because
Right.
you'll never know if it's something that you might want to expound upon at some point. And she
Right.
goes, well, I hate writing. I said, write it down. And I said, and if you want, maybe I can write it for you. I said, but you need to write it down, the day, the time, the address, so that you'll have it. Not that you need to share the address with anyone, but you need to know it for you. And what the weather was, it was pouring down rain. What was the event and how did it make you feel? And she goes, it made me feel warm and cozy. I said, well, quite possibly be somebody with you. She didn't think so,
Right.
but I said, I don't know. I wasn't there. And so, but that's what I told her to do. I told her to write it down in as much detail as she could remember. And she says, as she was talking to me, she remembered more and more details about it. And I said, that's usually how it goes. The more you talk about it, the more you remember.
Exactly.
And she told me that she had an experience when she was a kid, but she pretty much blocked it out. And when that happened, she remembered it.
Yeah. And that's a good thing to write things down. We tell all of our clients that too, especially when they're really afraid and it's the first thing that they've experienced. I always say, start now. Write it
Yeah.
down. Write everything about it that you can.
Yep. And so hopefully she listened to me. We lost our call. I don't know if it was because of the storm, because her phone went dead, whatever. I don't know. But it would make me guess that it was probably her phone went dead, knowing her. But I'm looking forward to our next hair appointment because I think she's gonna experience a few more things. To be honest, I think she will. So
That's cool.
So I don't know if she's going to think it's cool when it happens all the time, but she's going to find out that her house is haunted and she's going to get really upset because I had never told her what I saw there because they didn't want to know. But on that note, we're going to take our first break. You're listening to WBHM-DB.com out of Birmingham, Alabama. My guest tonight is Lynda Quirino, and I'd like for you guys to leave me your questions in the chat, and I will make sure they get asked. So we'll be back.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the world wide web of weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore. My guest tonight is Lynda Quirino, and you may remember her from the show Paranormal Survivor. She is one of their, as she says, quote, unquote, experts. So, and she laughs when people say that too, believe me. We just heard her laughing in the background there. So here's one of the questions from chat. This is from April Sarah. She says, Lynda, what was the most memorable investigation you've been on?
Oh boy. Memorable investigation. Gosh, I'm going to say probably my first investigation was, I think, the most memorable because that's always the one that kind of sticks in your craw.
Yeah.
It's so true, right? The first one is always the most incredible, especially when something incredible happens, because I was a young investigator. I mean, really young. I'm going to say I was like 19, which is crazy because I'm actually going on my 40th year of doing this. Can you believe that?
No, I can't, because I'd say maybe your 10th year. You look so young.
Well, you're a sweetheart. You're now my new best friend, just so you know. But
oh, okay.
Okay, so
the check's in the mail, right? No.
Yeah. It's an e-transfer. Don't worry about it. But yeah, the first investigation, I was really, really young. And because I was born and raised in Montreal, this investigation actually took place in Quebec. And it was in a small town called Hudson. And this elderly lady had been having things happen in this old home. There's a lot of old, beautiful homes in Hudson. And she heard about what I do. It's always word of mouth, especially back then, you know, like when they had horse-drawn carriages and little chalkboards in school. Anyway, so I went over to her house, and I don't know exactly what I was expecting, because prior to that, although I'd had a few little weird experiences, I mean, I'd never had anything monumental happen, but in this particular case, she was telling me about things that were moving on their own, and a few things had been thrown. So I was sitting down in her living room, which was beautiful, and there was a gorgeous marble fireplace just opposite me, really. And she was talking about things being thrown, and I was taking notes, and I was asking her, what time of day did this happen? Where did it happen? What were the environmental conditions at the time? All of the questions that you're supposed to ask when you're a paranormal investigator. And I said to her, well, so you really believe that things are being thrown? And she said, oh, absolutely. And I said, really? Well, I don't know. I mean, how do you know anyway? Of course, as soon as I said something, that had a little bit of doubtful ring in it, this massive, big crystal ashtray that was on the mantelpiece flew off the mantelpiece by itself and just skimmed my ear and landed on the wall. It hit the wall behind me with this incredible thud, made a dent in the wall, and then hit the floor. And I thought, okay. And that's when I realized that one should never go and interview people in a home with activity all by themselves. You need somebody else to go with you. So that was my big lesson. But that investigation, and that was really a pre-investigation, that was a walkthrough and an interview all by myself. Wrong move. But that, I think, was the most memorable. The investigation, I remember bribing somebody to go with me because I was on my own at the time. So I just asked somebody that I was going to school with at the time to go with me. And they did. And they were taking pictures. They were very calm. But they weren't calm for long because things were moving. I mean, doors would close by themselves. The place was incredibly active. So yeah, April, that was, I think, my most memorable investigation, was my number one. So that was a little scary.
Well, I'm going to follow that up with a question about what was your most memorable remark you had to make for the show, for Paranormal Survivor?
The most memorable remark.
Yeah, because I don't know, do you actually see the videos when what they're talking about, or did they just ask you a question and then you have to explain it?
Well, we get a synopsis of what a particular case was all about. So we get the names of the people involved, we get where it happened, we get the gist of what went on. So, and we also get a bunch of questions that may be asked. So that's really how we prepare for it. Gosh, you know what? I should have pulled out all my old questions, right? I don't know. I mean, there's some really strange cases, and they're all 100% true. They're all 100% real. I'm going to say, oh my gosh, the ones that get me are the physicality ones. I mean, the scratches or the punches or the pushes. I think those are the ones that really get to me, because then you know that something out there is incredibly strong and something is targeting an individual. And it's up to you to kind of figure out why and put the pieces together. But I think that show does that pretty well. But I think, those comments always get to me. I mean, how strong does a spirit have to be in order to push somebody down the stairs? Well, it's got to be pretty strong. I feel for those people. I feel for, the little people who have scratches on them, or even the big people, the ones who get punched in their sleep. I mean, those are pretty intense.
It's a horrible way to wake up.
No kidding, right?
So the next question I have for you is, what has been the strangest case you have seen while working on that show?
The strangest case while working on the show. I think one of the most interesting ones was the lady who brought back a plant from a graveyard. That was an interesting thing. Because she brought it inside the house and things started happening in her house, and it was a plant. So most people wouldn't even think twice. Well, I mean, we would, because we're paranormal investigators. But I mean, if you're walking around a graveyard and you see a plant that's kind of dying, and, you might pick it up there was a young boy who they believed was possessed, and they called me because they weren't sure whether he was faking. Well, Denise, he wasn't faking. This kid was stronger than Samson. He was speaking in a voice that was not his. There was a priest there, a Catholic priest there, who was presiding over all of this, and I was invited to watch. And I think that was probably in my paranormal career one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in my life. Even when I think about it now, I get that creepy, awful, horrible feeling.
Yeah,
Well, it's kind of interesting because I got a text from the producer. Now, this was even before the show had really even started. And they were reaching out to, I guess, paranormal teams in Canada because it really is a Canadian production. They do have a Canadian arm of the entire thing. So it's kind of interesting. They just reached out and said, "Do you have any cases?" And I reached back and I said, "I got tons of cases. What are you looking for?" So then we exchanged phone numbers, and it was a producer at the time who I actually spoke with. And that's kind of how it all started. And then it just escalated because that was in season 1. So they used a couple of our cases in season 1. And at the time, one of our team members was actually on the show. His name was Bob Mowers. He's since passed away. He had cancer. He's gone now, but every time the show comes on and repeat, at least I get to see Bob. But it just sort of escalated. And then I guess in season 3, they called me and asked, we've used a lot of your cases. What do you think? Are you interested in maybe being one of our paranormal experts? And I laugh at that word, Denise, all the time.
Yeah.
You can't ever be an expert. I mean, honestly. However, you can have more experience perhaps, but expert, I don't know. I think there's way more out there that I need to experience before I can ever be called an expert.
Oh, yeah. So, one of the questions we have in chat was about the boy that you were talking about. How old was that boy?
I'd have to look back in my notes, but I believe he was 12 going on 13.
Okay. So that, that's about the adolescence time, usually when they say girls experience stuff around that time, but it's quite possible any teen to preteen could be experiencing a change in life at that time.
Well, it was interesting too, because his family was very, very religious. They were very staunch Roman Catholic, and they truly believed that he was possessed by a demon. However, they didn't understand why. And interestingly enough, although the priest told them that this can happen, especially if, they play with Ouija boards or they are asking too many questions about their faith and having doubts about it. And, he explained it in that fashion. He really didn't explain it in a way that we would perhaps explain it. And by that, I mean, yes, you're either pubescent, prepubescent, you're going through a lot of emotional turmoil. You have to examine, what's going on in the mind. Yes, you may be questioning things. You may perhaps be open to all kinds of maybe vibrations in the house, experiences that, you can't explain yourself. You're just open to, I guess, being a radio transmitter for things. And people are sometimes just very sensitive, and they are open to those things. And in his case, he was very, very troubled. He had a lot of bullying that was happening in his life. There were so many dots that you could connect and figure out why all of this was happening. Not just that he was maybe doubting his faith. It had so much to do with so many other things it was fascinating, just fascinating. But yeah, he was definitely, from what I remember, 12 going on 13. So a very, I think, normal time for perhaps inner turmoil.
Mm-hmm. Or even possibly, like I was saying before, an awakening.
Yep, exactly. I agree.
So do you have a case from the show that made you smile?
That made me smile.
The result was unexpected and just made you smile, or anything along those lines that would have been a very positive. Because the show itself, let's be honest, a lot of times it's very negative.
Oh, yeah.
There's usually not too many very positive things, so there has to be a couple.
Yeah, true, right?
You'd think.
I think that some of the ones that made me smile, one in particular was very interesting, was there was a battle going on between good and evil. And that was kind of interesting. And that was the person's relative who was there, who was being a guardian. There was another one where the spirit actually ended up being the person's relative again. It was an Italian gentleman, I believe, and it was someone in his family who was very protective, and I like those because they're not malevolent. They're there to make sure everything's okay. Once they found out that all was well, they just went away on their own accord. It was like, okay, we're cool. Everything's fine, Giuseppe, I'm leaving. And that kind of made me smile. Yeah, I like those. Those are okay. But yeah, you're right. Most of them are very malevolent. Let's face it, Denise, malevolence makes for good TV.
It does. And, I survived a happy haunting. It's like, so what? Let's be honest. It's not going to make great TV. Although it might make a good, make somebody smile, I don't know, but it's not like, everybody's not looking for the positive experience. They want to hear that all hauntings are horrible and that they scare the living crap out of you all the time. And it's not always the case. Malevolent hauntings are rare as it is. Your shows just happen to have people submit them. They ask for them. I guess you get what you ask for. And so it's like, I know that it's not every place has got a horrible experience in hauntings, regardless of what some people want you to believe. So I don't know. We have a place that we go all the time, and a popular TV show went there and said there were demons there. And not only one place, but two. And I'm like, no, if I would know, I would be attacked by something. Something would happen to me, and nothing's ever happened, And it's like, it's not that bad. And they even did reenactments where there were demons. I'm like, no. And there's some places you can't get me to believe that about, to be honest. But it does sell.
It does. Makes for great TV.
Oh, and not only that, it probably makes for great sales at that location sometimes. It does.
True.
Because people want to go and they want to experience a demon. I don't know why, but they do. But we're going to go on our next break. Everybody, please put your questions in the chat if you have any. And because I know you've had to have seen Paranormal Survivor. And Lynda has all kinds of experiences. But you're listening to WBHM-DB.com out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back with Lynda in just a few minutes.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Lynda Quirino. She was on Paranormal Survivor as one of their paranormal experts, and I know that you guys have got to have all kinds of stuff that you want to ask her, and don't be afraid to ask because she'll answer your question. So, so now to your personal stuff, life for work. So have you guys been doing your TV show?
No, as a matter of fact, we haven't. As soon as we went into the lockdown, which was in March last year, everything kind of went goodbye, which is unfortunate. So I'm in contact with both Michelle DeRoche and Katie Turner, who I do the show with, and they're my co-experts. There you go, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we're kind of hoping that everything starts up again really soon. But yeah, no, everything just sort of went away. And we've been really missing each other because it was a huge part of our lives. And we really looked forward to doing the show. There's so many interesting cases out there. I mean, I can't tell you how bizarre some of them are. I mean, when we get them and we read them, we'll kind of look at each other like, really? This happened? Incredible.
What about the other TV show that you're on locally?
Oh, yeah. I'm on a local show called Georgina Life, which is kind of fun because we talk about local things. And we're still doing the show. We were able to go into the studio when the lockdown eased last time, but now we can't. So we do it all on Zoom, which, as you know, is, well, I mean, it's Zoom, right? So yeah. Sometimes there's technical difficulties. The internet is not as reliable because here, all the kids are online. They're all homeschooling right now because the schools are all closed. So the traffic on the internet is nuts. So it's not that reliable, but we're doing the show on Zoom. We do it once a week. We record our opening and closing chats. And then another time we do all of our interviews for that show. So we're busy. I mean, it's crazy busy.
Well, I will say I work for an internet company. They're not just internet. We're cloud and all kinds of other stuff. So Both my husband and I have been essential employees this whole time,
Right.
but I was working from home anyway. And Ron worked from, out of the house, but it still has to go out. So for us, nothing's changed.
No, I guess not.
The only thing that's changed is people giving you that look as you're walking in the store, putting your mask on. Well, it's like, you got out of the car without it on? Oh my goodness. I'm like, so heck, I don't know how many times I have to go back to the car because I forgot it. Like I said,
Right.
Nothing's really changed for us. And it's not a big deal, and all of our kids where we live, this is not everywhere, but where we live, those kids went back to school on their normal day.
Wow.
So they went out at spring break last year and didn't go back until August. So it's nice. As far as that goes, that nothing's really changed as far as that goes, but it's not a big deal. As far as that goes, I mean, our TV shows seem to be all taping, but I will say soap operas look really funny. I don't know how they're having these bedroom scenes with everybody staying 6 feet apart.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, I'm watching Days of Our Lives, and some of those people they're in relationships anyway, so they're close. But Young and the Restless, these people just got married, and they're 6 feet apart from each other. It's like, well, that looks like that's reality right there. It's just weird. So
it's so weird.
It is. And so I don't know. I just kind of laugh a lot. I mean, I think sports is funny. They just stick a mic out there and go, you go to the mic and talk. I don't know. It's just kind of funny. So I don't know. I'm not going to go with what I think is going on, but it's still funny. And do you subscribe to any conspiracy theories?
Well, it's funny. My husband and I were talking about that not too long ago. And I don't know. It's one of those things where we kind of waffle back and forth because, it's like we were saying before, who do you believe, right? So I like to believe the science. I like to believe people who I think have some sort of intelligence and are able to back up their claims. And yet, I don't know. I've read David Icke like everybody else. I don't know, Denise. We waffle back and forth. So I can't really say whether we truly believe in any conspiracy theories. But I will say that I did hear the other day somebody talking about how during this whole COVID-19, and this is locally, there have been more sightings of what people believe to be UFOs and extraterrestrial craft around here, which I think is kind of interesting. Don't you think that's interesting?
Yeah, that is. Because one of the questions that I had been asked months ago, do you think that paranormal activity has been on the increase or the decrease now that we are all staying home as much?
Right.
And
what do you think?
I think that people are finding out that their houses are haunted, and it's during the day that they're hearing all the stuff that they never heard before because they were gone.
Bingo, 100%. I totally agree with that statement. Interesting.
So it is. It's strange when you look at that, and when you go to a location that always has paranormal investigators there. Is it more active than it had been in the past, or did the spirits pass on because, hey, we're bored playing with you people now? I don't know. So because that's one that could go either way. You're going to show up and it's going to be a lot more active, because like the McIntyre Villa here is saying that it's been much more active since they've been having less people come. So, I don't know. And then you have these other places that are saying, I'm not getting anything. And I was like, well, maybe they're sleeping. I don't know. It's just really odd when you hear the different stories from the different places. like I said, I have no clue, but it makes you laugh a little bit, but it also makes you think, how many places were haunted because people believed they were and believed they were having experiences, and it was all in their head. They wanted to have an experience so bad, so they did. Or the places truly were haunted, and now they're escalating to make sure that you know it, and you keep coming back. So it's I know it's just me thinking out loud, but I am the worst skeptic when it comes to paranormal experiences.
Right.
I know, hard to believe. I get
No.
I get all kinds of things in my email and text messages and stuff, and say, is this real or is this fake? And it's like, I don't know if it's real or if it's fake, but here's how you could fake it.
Right.
You know?
Oh my gosh.
So I'm
That's
not
funny.
there. And I know you too. You're not there. You can't judge someone else's experience, but you know how things could be fabricated.
Exactly. So true.
So, do you have a belief on Bigfoot?
On Bigfoot, that's a big one. And the reason I say that is because I've really only started reading and being interested in Bigfoot, I'm going to say in the last 5 years. Prior to that, I was not really interested in, cryptids or anything like that. It was primarily ghosts and hauntings and research about ghosts and hauntings. But for some reason, and probably because I've gotten involved with a lot of different groups out there who have been, I guess, really interested in it and telling me that I should take a second look at it, I'm starting to believe a little bit in all of that. I mean, let's face it, Denise, Bigfoot, people have been seeing Bigfoot for a long time. What the heck is it? I mean, is it a guy in a costume? I don't think so. Is it an alien, which some people believe that they're aliens? I don't know. I mean, what about the evidence? I was reading a book, and I wonder if I can actually find it. It's somewhere here. Where Bigfoot Walks. Interesting book. I don't know if you've read it.
No.
Interesting book. But they talk about exactly that. Let's look at the evidence. I don't know. I'm beginning to think that Bigfoot is maybe something that was, I don't know, maybe lost to us, and then we're refinding it. I'm not sure. It's hard to know. I'm still reading about it, but I think Bigfoot could be real. How many people have seen it? A lot of people. Yeah, okay, I'm going to say it's probably real. I've never seen Bigfoot, though. I've seen evidence in books, on TV. I don't know. Maybe it is some sort of prehistoric creature that survived. I don't know. How can it hide from us, though, Denise? That's the thing. Has anybody really found one before? Has anybody really found a dead Bigfoot before? That's another story.
That was the thing that always gets me, is why hasn't there been a body, bones,
Right.
anything found? But Expedition Bigfoot, I think they're showing some really interesting, not technically evidence, but theory.
Right.
And I don't watch a lot of Bigfoot shows, but that one I really like. I like the mostly scientific way that they're investigating. There were some things from last season that made me go, well, of course they're children. They found a graveyard that was mostly children that had died. Well, back in the day, that's what it would have been, mostly children. And when the mine shut down, those graves were still left there and the people left. That's why there's no adults buried there. Come on, people, some common sense. So some of the things some things make me, it's like football. How people yell at the TV during football games. I yell at the TV during paranormal shows.
Yeah.
I sometimes do the play-by-play, which really irritates Ron. But and a lot of times I can't even watch the show. I have to listen to it. I can't watch it. I just have to listen. And I get irritated by some of the things that are said. So, and I don't know about you. I don't know about anybody else. I just know that that's me. And I'm not the best person to watch paranormal TV with. Plus the fact that I do have this thing, they do stuff and it foreshadows to me what's going to happen. So I always know what's going to happen before it does.
Right.
I do it with movies. I mean, Ron knows we can't watch a movie without me knowing what's going to happen next. So
yeah, it's like you kind of wrote the plot. You wrote every line. Yeah, we had that happen here too.
It's not always the best thing for other people to be part of watching a movie with me. So be aware, everyone. It's hard for me to keep my mouth shut, but it is the TV shows like that get me going. Now, I love mountain monsters. I think it's hilarious. God.
Me too.
Me too.
One of my favorites.
Yep. It makes me laugh. And now that, Expedition Bigfoot is in that area that my mom lived in.
Oh.
In Eastern Kentucky. There was a time that Mountain Monsters was in Eastern Kentucky, and they found one of the guys naked in a pond there in Pike County. So I'm waiting. I told Ron, I said, if that Bigfoot starts speaking to them in their minds and starts telling them to take off their clothes and jump in the pond, I'm gonna have to go, oh my goodness, it really is true. It's the area. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, and the thing is I know that area very well. When they were in Oregon, no, I didn't know any of that area. This area I know, and I know people who live in that area who have seen things that they consider to be Bigfoot. And you know what? We're going to have to take a break on this note. This is our long break. I hope everybody enjoys the news tonight. You're listening to WBHM-DB.com out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Live from NPR News, I'm Jack Speer. The Biden administration is asking the Supreme Court to cancel upcoming oral arguments in cases about the border wall and the so-called Remain in Mexico policy. NPR's Joel Rose reports the administration made that request in court papers filed today.
The Supreme Court is scheduled to hear arguments later this month in a case over funding for the wall on the U.S.-Mexico border, and next month in a case about the Remain in Mexico policy that forced tens of thousands of asylum seekers to wait in dangerous conditions in Mexico for their day in U.S. immigration courts. In both cases, lower courts ruled against the Trump administration, and the Supreme Court agreed to hear appeals. The Biden administration has already taken actions that could make both cases moot. On its first day, the administration halted construction on the border wall and suspended new enrollments in the Remain in Mexico program. Joel Rose, NPR News, Washington.
Competing coronavirus relief packages being bandied about on Capitol Hill today, though President Biden and his administration seem to be making it clear they are worried about doing too little. Biden has proposed a $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief measure, while some Republican lawmakers are interested in talking about a much smaller aid bill that would total just $618 billion. Or the meeting is being billed as a discussion and not a negotiation, making it seem likely the administration may move ahead with its plan whether Republicans go along or not. The latest annual report by the Southern Poverty Law Center shows a decline in active hate groups. The report released today says that may be in part because white supremacists and other hate groups are organizing online where they're harder to track. Here's NPR's Hannah Lom.
The SPLC's new report identifies 838 active hate groups that operated across the country in 2020. That's down from 940 the previous year. The record high, more than 1,000, was in 2018. The civil rights group cautions that the annual count of active groups is just one tool for gauging levels of hate and bigotry nationwide. Researchers say the drop in the number of active groups shows the evolution in their organizing. Increasingly, white supremacists and neo-Nazis are meeting online without formal group membership or structure. The groups also lose members to infighting and splintering. In addition, the coronavirus pandemic was an obstacle to in-person organizing last year. Hannah Lam, NPR News.
The erratic herd trading activity that helped propel GameStop and some other stocks to unusual and unsustainable highs appears to have migrated to commodities. Silver futures jumped almost 12% to more than $30 an ounce following strong gains over the weekend. On Twitter, the hashtag #SilverSqueeze trending just as the latest trading fad to Royal Wall Street from the online forum Wall Street Bets on Reddit. An online army of traders who get their information from Reddit have been buying up out-of-favor companies like GameStop. That's causing heavy losses for some hedge funds. On Wall Street today, the Dow was up 229 points. The Nasdaq rose 332. This is NPR. French President Emmanuel Macron is under pressure from health officials and scientists to institute a nationwide lockdown as the virus continues to spread in France. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports Macron is using other restrictions to try to keep the coronavirus in check for now.
Shopping malls are closed, and anyone living outside the European Union can no longer enter France. The new measures, plus a tightly enforced 6 p.m. overnight curfew, are meant to help curb the spread of the virus. But France seems unable to lower its more than 20,000 new cases a day. Macron has not instituted a third nationwide lockdown because he's said to be worried about people's mental health as the pandemic reaches its one-year mark. Some restaurateurs have threatened to reopen. They've been closed since October. Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire says if restaurants do open, they will lose all of their government pandemic subsidies. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
The plan to reopen Chicago's schools remains in doubt as last-minute negotiations with teachers there over COVID-19 safety measures remain in an impasse. The stalling of talks increasing the possibility of a strike or a lockout as 62,000 students and up to 10,000 teachers grades K through 8 had been expected to start school as part of a gradual reopening. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot over the weekend had said she expected teachers to show up today. However, she pushed back the arrival of students until tomorrow. Teachers in the nation's third largest school district have fought against returning to classrooms. Crude oil futures prices moved higher. Oil up $1.35 a barrel today to end the session at $53.55 a barrel. This is NPR.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back. It's 5 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Lynda Quirino from Paranormal Survivor. And we have another question for you in the chat room. And what type of investigations do you like best? This is from Gary.
Well, what type of investigations do I like best? I really like the team investigations where we go to people's houses. I really like doing investigations of residential areas. And I think I like them the most because you get to find out a lot about who lives there, what's going on, why things are happening, and you get to kind of, I don't know, it's an all-encompassing experience. You get to meet some incredible people that have some incredible stories. So it's a nice all-around experience. And for the most part, when we do residential, I find that we can normally tie it up in a little bow at the end. If we're doing an investigation of a location that is a public place or whatever, there's all these theories about why these hauntings are taking place. There could be times when things happen, things don't happen. I mean, residential too, but I just find that normally when we sit down with the people in a residence, we normally are able to ascertain what's going on, who it is, why it's happening, and kind of come up with a viable solution for these people. I like that. I like that experience. It's a warm, good experience. So there you go.
What is the best evidence you get with your equipment, or which equipment gives you the best evidence? It could go, I mean, it's actually two of the same questions, but it actually worded different. It gives you different answers. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
So what equipment do you think gives you the best evidence?
The equipment that gives us, well, me, but I think most of the team that I have, the best evidence is ourselves. I mean, you can have equipment up the yin yang. You can have spirit boxes. You can have, portals. You can have, you name it. And it's never 100% accurate because spirits can play with anything. Whereas when you are your own little, island and you have been on a lot of investigations, when something's happening. You can sense when things are about to occur. You are your own best instrument. And I've always said that. I mean, I'm from the old school, Denise, 40 years, I've been around when we didn't have spirit boxes. We just had cassette tape recorders and pieces of paper and pencils. So really, I think when you're an investigator, your sense is the best sense and you are your own best instrument. But of course, having said that, you're going to pick up on things. And if you do have an instrument, whatever it happens to be, and that instrument can corroborate what you're actually feeling, then, that's amazing. So if you're feeling that there's a spirit in the room and you turn on the spirit box and you get something incredible, then that, something's there. But I think our best equipment is ourselves overall.
What piece of equipment do you think is probably overused?
Overused, I would say the good old K2, the EMF detector. I think every team has K2s, every team has EMFs. And there are so many false positives with those. I mean, you've got to be very aware of what's going on in a particular area. If you're doing a residence, are you near the Wi-Fi? Is the Wi-Fi on? What about the wiring in the walls? What you think is a spirit might be somebody sending a text message. So, just that I think is probably the instrument that I think is way overused and way overrated.
I can see that because, somebody just doesn't have to turn off their cell phone and it could be going off or the camera gets close. Camera's hovering over it and you're going, oh, I'm getting all this EMF. And it's like, no, there's a camera 2 feet away.
Exactly.
Show me that it's not that sending it off. That's kind of some of the things that I see and I just kind of laugh and go from there. One time I was watching Curse the Bell Witch. Okay. And I'm good friends with John Selleck. I really, really like him. And of course, he's not a paranormal investigator. He's just part of the Bell family. And they have a K2 and a flashlight on top of a grave. It's granite or no marble. And it's quite possible that there's something in the marble. I don't know. But the camera guy's like 1.5 feet away and the K2 keeps going off and is like, okay, well, you lost me with the flashlight, but you're going to lose me there because the camera guy is standing right above it. So, but who knows? I like I said, it's just one of those things where I have to laugh about some of the stranger things that they try. What has been the piece of equipment that you think is the neatest thing? May not work, but what has been the neatest thing that you've seen introduced to the paranormal to try to use to get capture paranormal activity?
That's a good question. I mean, there's so much out there. What equipment I really like? I like the Melmeter. I like it because it's got lots of bells and whistles. It's got, everything, right? It's got sort of built-in REM pod. It's got, the temperature gauge. It's got the EMF. It's got everything in there. And I think that's a cool piece of equipment. And I also, oh gosh, you know what? I don't know. I think that I'm going to go with the millimeter. I think it's a cool piece of equipment. Not that it always works, but I like it.
It has an interesting story about why it was created.
Exactly. It's that whole Melanie thing. And I remember watching the Ghost Adventures. You probably watched that, right? Where they actually went to Gary Galka's house and did some experiments. And that was kind of cool.
So, yeah, it was. It was one of those, it made you cry.
It did. It did. Absolutely.
So, but I mean, you can see where somebody would want to communicate with a child that they've lost suddenly.
Definitely.
And
absolutely.
So, like I said, I can see that, and like I said, I did cry at that. So, Gary asks, what do you think of dowsing rods?
We actually have a pair of dowsing rods. I kind of think they're interesting. I think that you have to be trained, and you've got to train yourself in how to use them. And I have been with a couple of teams that have used them successfully. Like anything else, though, you can always get false positives. But I think if you're in the right headspace, you know how to use them, you understand how to use them, you're well versed with the vibrational, way that they can be used, I think it's fine. But I think when you're not, they're just fun little things that, twist and twirl, and whether they work or not, you don't really care. But I think people who use them effectively, and let's face it, water witches have been around forever. I think, in an investigation, they have their place. As I say, we do have a set, and one of my team members is quite sensitive and has used them effectively. So I'm going to say absolutely. We have a lot of very unconventional things that we use on our team that a lot of other teams don't use, or maybe use sparingly, possibly not at all.
And what is that? We use dowsing rods. I used to teach people at the Sally House how to use them all the time, and I have multiple sets, so I like them, and it's just I don't really use them anymore because of the fact I already know what the answers are. Why do I need somebody to, I don't need to see the answer. I already know, because they've already told me the answer. As I'm thinking of the question, the spirits are already answering them. What other equipment do you use that might be unconventional?
Well, first of all, let me just tell you, the dowsing rods are interesting. What you just said made so much sense. But I think the reason why we've incorporated using them is that, again, people want validation. And I think, you can say to people, yeah, there's something here. I understand. This is where this is the area in your home that's the most active. But if you're walking around with dowsing rods, like anything else, it's that validation piece, that they really need. And we've had a professional dowser come and speak at our meetings. Susan Collins, who's, I believe, an internationally known dowser. She was phenomenal, and she was explaining how you can use them, why you use them, how you feel when you use them. I mean, it was just phenomenal. So, I think they're, they can be used to great lengths, and I think they're awesome. But another thing we use is a singing bowl, which is interesting because sound, as you know, clears so many things and also welcomes things into an area. So if we're somewhere and we're not getting a lot of activity, and yet we sense that something is in watch mode, you know what that's all about. Sometimes we'll take out the singing bowl and it'll call in the energies, and then we can, have some success in communicating in some way. So that's something that we've incorporated into our little, plethora of fun instrumentation. But we use those. We used to use packets of Kool-Aid instead of baby powder or cornstarch in a locked area, and to see if we can get any footprints or any kind of movement in an area. That's fun too. And a lot of groups
unless
don't
it
use
gets
that.
wet. Unless it gets wet, then
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
fun.
No, that's so true. And if it's blue Kool-Aid, Denise, it's even worse.
Yeah, it doesn't come out. And yeah, believe me, I know. I haven't had Kool-Aid in my house in probably 20 years because of the kids ruining their clothes and Kool-Aid smiles and all that other stuff. They never
Right.
really cared. They never really, when I was a babysitter, I babysat like 25 kids a week. I went through a lot then. Yeah.
Wow.
So
And you're
I
still
guess I got
alive
them
to
tired
tell
of it.
Yeah.
I ran a full-time daycare, so going into business made sense. It's just babysitting, just adults instead of kids.
True.
So not a big deal. So yeah, Kool-Aid does sound a little bit different. I would probably be going with, flour, cornstarch, baby powder. Well, baby powder now causes cancer, so probably wouldn't use that. Monkey butt powder, we'd probably use that.
Yes. Well, I mean, in the 80s, I used to use Kool-Aid because it came in little packets and it was really great to put in your kit. So it was nice and portable.
Yeah, and it was only 20 cents, if that.
Exactly.
You could get it on
Exactly.
sale. So, but you know what? We're at our next break. We only have one more break to go after this. So this is our next break. And everybody, Lynda will be taking your questions for the next two times that we come back. So you need to get those questions out there. I do see the other part of your question, Gary. I will get that when we get back. But you're listening to WBHM-DB.com out of Birmingham, Alabama. We will be back with Lynda Quirino from Paranormal Survivor in just a few minutes. But you got to come back to hear the rest of this because this has been fun. So we'll see you in a few.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Several U.S. presidents are on record talking about the UFO mystery.
Yeah, Presidents Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan both had UFO sightings of their own, but the current presidential campaign might be the first in which UFO disclosure has been championed by a major party candidate.
DIA, CIA, it moves around, is operating a program to train psychic spies to spy and use their powers against Russia. John Ronson writes about this in The Men Who Stare at Goats.
The first known sighting of a ghost took place right after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in the late 1860s during the administration of Ulysses Grant.
Project Paperclip, Clinton releases it all in 1998.
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial.
It's a place where UFO hunters and scientists gather to examine paranormal activity in the region.
Some of the documents, this is bringing Nazi scientists into the United States to work here. So we fought against the Nazis, and it's not, this again is not a revelation. As early as 1947, 1946, we knew some of this, right?
On the paranormal, will we see U.S. President Barack Obama's foreign policy go intergalactic in a quest for gold stolen by aliens? We'll tell you at least how the White House responded to claims the chief executive has been teleporting to Mars. But let's get to today's Capitol account.
UFOs, hauntings, psychic abilities, conspiracy, ESP, Cryptozoology. There are many things that remain unexplained in the inexplicable world around us. And we're talking about them here, looking for answers. On WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama. The truth is out there.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Lynda Quirino from Paranormal Survivor. And I'm going to ask the rest of Gary's question here. He wants to know what you think about the SLS camera.
Well, I think it's a really interesting little tool. I don't know how accurate it is, mind you, because I've spoken to a lot of paranormal investigators who actually use it. And one in particular had told me that when they were doing an investigation at a person's home, it mapped out the golf bag in the corner as something paranormal. So, yeah, I don't know. As I said, equipment isn't infallible. And I don't think all equipment is 100%. So while I think it's interesting and certainly useful, I don't think it's always accurate.
I think that there's some false positives with that, and knowing how to read the false positives is important. And that's one of the things that Gary and his team have learned how to do, is read the false positives, and to make sure that they rule those out right away. And they do a really good job of ruling it out. And is it always accurate? No, nothing is. No. And until we have a scientific method to prove or disprove, where do we go? We keep experimenting until we find some way to make it scientific.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, you know as well as I do that the more experience you have on a paranormal investigation, or just paranormally investigating, you are going to understand things a bit more. And I think that's the issue, where you've got a lot of young teams. And let's face it, there's a lot of paranormal teams that are popping up there like pimples. Mm-hmm. They may not have the experience. They may be very dependent on the equipment that they have, and very proud of the equipment that they have. I know some paranormal teams, they've spent a fortune on equipment, but equipment does not guarantee that you are going to be a successful and a good paranormal investigator. So, yeah.
That's true. A lot of it is listening. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's like fishing. Yes. Sitting there being quiet and being part of the environment. And
exactly.
Everybody wants it to be exciting, but of the 10, 12 hours that you're in a location, you might get 15 minutes of evidence. Or you might catch one fish.
Well, that's what I tell people, if I do any kind of speaking engagement. The first question is always, can I go on an investigation with you? Because I really want to see a ghost. But I always say to them, what you see on TV is not reality, because you're talking about 3, 4, 5 days, possibly more, condensed into a show that lasts either 30 minutes or an hour. So you're going to get the best of those 3, 4, 5, or 7 days, all condensed in that little half an hour or an hour. It's not what people think it is.
Yeah. Like I said, even the fishing shows with Bill Dance were not, they may have only been 30 minutes, but it was more than 30 minutes that he was out there trying to catch that fish.
Exactly.
And that's what people need to understand. But Gary asked another question. He said he had a list of people in the cemetery that were in unmarked graves. Dowsing rods took me right to their unmarked grave. Do you think they may have been right? The dowsing rods, that is.
Who's to say that they weren't? There you go. That's
right. Right. I mean, without GPR, ground penetrating radar, or digging up in that spot, you're not going to know for positive. But you know, you can suspect if it's a graveyard that it's more than likely very, very clear. Especially if you have names, but you have names from, say, Find a Grave, but no stones.
Right.
You know, because Find a Grave has to have some kind of validation for it to put it on there. Although it does have my mom being buried next to my dad, and my mom's not buried anywhere.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why somebody did that. And so I've had to go in there and tell them, no, my mom's not buried. She's in a box at my sister's house, which sounds bad, but she was cremated. So waiting for me to take care of the last part of her wishes. But yeah, she's not buried anywhere. And so I've just found that odd that she's buried with my dad, even though she wasn't married to my dad when she died.
That's very bizarre.
I was like, hey, you guys are wishful thinking there. So I just kind of laugh. But it is weird when, you know, because you can look at Find a Grave and there are some of those people that were buried. Example, Edgar Allan Poe was buried in one place, but now buried in another.
Right.
They moved him. And did they update the spot? Yeah, they did, because it's historical. But there are other people that have had the same things. They've been moved for some reason and that never got updated. It's odd. So do you have, like, when you research a location, do you have certain websites that you use to research those locations, or locations that you go to research those locations?
We go to a lot of different places. I know that if we're doing something locally, we do have contacts at the Historical Society, also at the local Pioneer Village. The wonderful lady there, Melissa Matt, she works for the town archives. So, you know, we do things like that, but we tend to Google a lot and find all kinds of different places. And Denise, you know as well as I do that, again, there's so much conflicting information out there. So, you know, one person might have something listed as fact, whereas if you go to the archives, that's not fact at all. So, you know, it's always good to kind of double check and triple check and go to different places. But I mean, for local stuff, the archives are really good, as well as contacting the Historical Society and trying to find out, you know, what is it? The dot thing, right? Connecting all the dots. But you know, as well as I do, it's weird, right? How you'll find out something on one website and that isn't at all what the archives might say. It's very strange.
It is. And sometimes they did not get their history right, even at the Historical Society, because some things aren't as important to them as the old rich family in town or the family that got all the controversy, you know, that kind of stuff. Because I know that I have seen, well, I went to the Historical Society in a town and asked them where this location was. Okay. I had found an address where the people had lived prior to living in the house that I was researching. And I asked where it was because the street no longer existed. You know, they had changed the names and all that. The streets used to be A, B, C, D, and then they changed them to real names. And so, like, one street was Atchison, one street was Kansas. I mean, truly. So A Street was Atchison and B Street was Kansas. And so I was looking for where these people lived before, and they go, well, there's nothing there. I said, well, erosion, widening of the river took care of a lot of this. And, you know, River Road is something totally different, you know, than it was back then. But based on the area map, I was able to find it on an old map, and they couldn't tell me anything about what I was looking for. And it makes you wonder how important the whole town history is to them, or is it just these certain parts of history that are important to them at that time?
Right.
So, I mean, I dug and dug and dug for years and to find all the information that I found, and nobody there wanted to validate it or invalidate it.
Really?
No. They wanted nothing to do with it because it had to do with hauntings.
Oh, of course. Oh,
right.
Of course.
So,
yeah.
Do you come across that too? Because, religious reasons in certain areas?
Yeah. I mean, when you said the whole thing about hauntings, I mean, that's that whole tainted house thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. I mean, there are some places in town, for example, that people, they don't want you to even know about. We have a particular home that we've been trying to find information about for years, and nobody, and I've lived in the town of Georgina for like 32 years. And in 32 years, nobody can tell me any information about this one particular house, which is all boarded up. There is security. There is nobody living there, obviously. And yet, the lawn is mowed. It's in fantastic shape outside. Nobody can tell our team who owns it, what happened there. There's a lot of strange things, apparently, that happened there. A lot of rumors, a lot of speculation. You talk to one person in town and they'll tell you a demon lives there. You talk to somebody in town and they'll say, oh yeah, I used to know the guy's uncle who owned the place, and I don't know why it's abandoned. I have no idea. So again, yeah, why doesn't anybody know anything about it? I have no clue.
The question is on that, have you checked out newspapers.com by the address?
Newspapers.com. Got to check that out. I mean, we've done pretty much everything. We've got a really good team with some amazing people that do great research, but maybe we'll try that. I don't know. We don't even know. It's not even on the tax roll. Like, it's crazy.
There's got to be a physical street address, even though that physical street address could change. You may have to look by cross streets. There's also fire records. Not that it was on fire insurance, like the Sanford fire maps. A lot of stuff's on there. If it was built late 1800s until probably the 1930s. A lot of that, the deeds people, they should know something.
Well, it's interesting.
Unless they're silenced.
Yeah, and that's the issue. I think even the town, as I say, they have no idea about any information about this place. And
I'd start with rumors. I mean, honestly, I would start researching rumors that people have told you and see which one of those pans out. Because, with every rumor or legend, there's a bit of fact. But which part is fact?
Well, exactly. We've even posted it on a local Facebook group, and it got a lot of conversation going. But again, you would think that people who've lived in this area all of their lives would know a little bit more information, but can't seem to trace anything. But there's a lot of really good stories, Denise, so they make for really great conversation.
Well, again, I'm one of those ones that I took legend and found fact. It took a while. It took 7 years to find all the fact. And so it does take a while. And ancestry.com and newspapers.com are great. Once you get a name, then one can lead you, newspapers.com might give you a name and you can go search on there, and you can find records that are attached to them that will help maybe lead you to another tidbit of information that might lead you to that information. It may be as simple as looking up who the neighbor was, who owned the original land a long time ago. What's the plot called? Because it's not usually what you think it's called. We found that out with our old house. It was something really strange, for me anyway, when I looked at the deed. So it just makes you wonder where to go from here. But you'll find, something will come to you in the middle of the night, and then you'll be out there searching again once you find a lead. So it's interesting. And it might be, it's just like finding out where somebody's buried. Sometimes, once you know where they live, you can find out where they're buried, should they have died, and even more. So it's interesting, the history of one location.
Yes.
And I don't think it matters if the location is brand new or if it's old, because everything is old. This property's been here forever and ever. What can we find out about it? It's kind of like what Steve DeShavi does. He goes out and researches, everything that's related to him. He may start with that current address, but it takes him back to something in, 1820.
Right.
So it's just, I know it's a thread, but eventually it becomes a rope. And you hang yourself because you can never get done researching.
But sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know and who you bump into, which we've been getting traction on it. But now that we can't have our meetings anymore, that traction has kind of gone nowhere. So hopefully we'll be able to get people once our meetings happen again and get some more traction on this particular address.
Maybe you could start having some Zoom meetings.
That's what we're thinking about, actually. Our tech is looking into it, and hopefully we can all get a time when we're together. And Zoom meetings could, again, get that traction going, because this particular property is driving all of us crazy.
Well, that's probably a way to do it. There's also Meet Now, which is a Microsoft application. Teams is another one. I think Teams is rather expensive. Our company uses it. But there's also, you can use StreamYard without streaming it on the internet. You can use it personally. And because I do conferences with, Zoom won't work for me to participate in something on my work computer. So I'll use StreamYard to talk back and forth to different people, because I don't want to do it a certain way. But you can also use Facebook and do a room on there. So there's a lot of different ways where you guys can meet these days without it being expensive. Free. So it's interesting. Free is always good, especially in a time where everybody's charging for everything, including, well, we won't say that because you're part of that, part of the plus shows, or the Plus TV, Disney Plus and Discovery Plus and this plus and that plus. And what's it equal to me? It equals minuses to me because of things that I'm already paying for that I'm not going to get to see now.
That's right.
So I, as you can tell, I have a very distinct opinion on this.
Okay, you're loud. That's what we love about you, Denise.
Oh, well, it's the truth. When it comes right down to it, here we are. We're paying for all this through our Dish network, DirecTV, Roku. People are paying for this stuff, and then they're going, "Oh, we're going to go off on our own, and we're going to stream over here." You can't see this unless you pay for it. But I already paid for it over here.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So needless to say, I won't be seeing some of the paranormal shows. I won't be seeing what is it? The talk show with the Ghost Brothers and Jack Osborne. I won't be seeing that unless it comes on their network. That's not a plus.
No.
I think
so
it's called Fright Club is what it is. I won't be seeing that. So
no.
I'm just
we don't
smile.
get a lot of that here. We don't get a lot of stuff in Canada that you guys get. You know that, right?
But we also don't get a lot of stuff that you guys get.
That's true.
You guys were getting Paranormal Survivor long before we did.
That's so true. I think we got an entire season before you did.
Mm-hmm. And my friend Joe was on there, which is how I found out about you.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Really?
Joe Citrone was on there.
Yes.
In
Wow.
fact, he sent me a message saying he's going to be on Haunted Hospitals a couple times coming up here in March.
Oh, nice.
So, but you know what? We're at that last break. So we're going to go on break and we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about you and we'll see where that goes. But you're listening to WBHM-DB.com and we'll be back with Lynda Quirino in just a few minutes.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the world wide web of weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. And I'd like to thank Lynda Quirino for being such a great guest and such a good sport to listen to me be me. So how can people find Lynda on a normal day?
On a normal day, well,
we don't have
every
those
day
anymore.
Right? I mean, yeah, what's normal anymore, Denise? On
Abnormal?
Facebook. Yeah, I don't know. It's never normal now, but you can find me on Facebook, Georgina Paranormal Society. You can find us on our website, which is georginaparanormal.com. And, well, I guess you can find us on Twitter, and we're at Georgina Ghosts on Twitter. And, of course, you can email us and do all that stuff through either our website or you can message us on Facebook. So we're everywhere.
So are you also on Rumble, Gab, any of those other platforms?
Nope.
Okay,
We're just on Facebook. Yeah, Facebook and Twitter. Those are the two that we're on. We were thinking about Instagram at one time, but you know what? We're all such busy people. I mean, we all have jobs and things that we do outside of all of this, and it's gotten a little crazy. I mean, even in lockdown, we're busy. I mean, I'm sure you, it's insane. I think we're busier in lockdown than we were not on lockdown.
So are you still creating a lot of your crafts?
Oh my gosh, I am so busy doing all of that stuff. Yeah, I've got my own little business, Love Yous and Crafty Critters, and I make sock animals and sock anything. And I'm telling you, this Christmas was nuts. I went crazy. I had so many orders because everybody's buying online and everybody's doing pickups and drop-offs, and it was crazy. And I'm still doing all that stuff.
And I will tell you, she does an excellent job. She made me a pork chop based on some things that I had said. And Ruby loves his pork chop because for those of you who know and don't know, I used to, when Lindsay or Leah got pregnant, I started calling him pork chop before I even knew if he was a boy. And so he's got a whole buttload of pigs. And but he carries around pork chop throughout his house. They won't let him take him out because, you know, we can't wash him or anything. But he carries around pork chop everywhere in the house, and he plays with him, and he talks to him and all kinds of stuff. So Lynda does an excellent job on her critters. They are so cute.
Thanks.
So I know I've shown him to a lot of people. So, but it was probably the most unusual baby gift my daughter got when she had her baby shower back in 2017. And the funny thing was, is somebody, I don't know if you saw the cake, somebody made a cake for him that used pork chop as his design. And I mean, she did an excellent job on the cake, and it tasted so good. And so so needless to say, pork chop is carrying on a really good life with Ruby and family at this point. So if you guys are looking for something special for somebody, I don't know if baby showers are the best thing, but they are unusual gifts for baby showers. But I mean, they are adorable. Everything's handmade. So, except for the socks. So
except for the socks.
Yeah, well, you made little overalls for him, and you made him a little hat, little bucket hat like Gilligan, and she cross-stitched pork chop across there.
I did. That's true.
And pork chop actually is purple and yellow, which I know everybody's shocked as anything that it's purple. But you know what? Ruby likes purple. He likes yellow, and he likes red. So we're good. We got in there, the right colors. And of course, I told you that her colors for his room were, you know, purple and yellow and blue and things like that. So I didn't pick the purple. She did. So, but yeah, Lynda does a great job. And then how many masks did you make for the nursing homes and the hospitals and all that?
Oh God, I lost count, but I'm gonna say at least 3,500.
Oh wow! And did you use all the scrap material that you have laying around your house?
I did, and also I was doing it for a local organization. And we got all kinds of things donated, tons and tons of fabric. So it was like a job for me. I woke up in the morning and all I did was sew masks, which was incredible. I did that for months and months. I think I started in March and I didn't end until October. Like, it was nuts.
And so now there's enough PPE where you don't have to do that?
You know what? I ran out of steam. I really did. And it just got so busy for me, starting up the local show and, starting to try and figure out how we were going to do what we're doing locally. I just thought, no, I don't have any time to sew anymore. And the business was ramping up. So, yeah, it was just a little crazy.
Well, 6 months is a long time to be doing the same thing over and over again. Your fingers are probably sore.
Yeah, I actually burnt out a sewing machine and had to go and get a new one.
Oh, that's bad. So
it was.
And the thing is a lot of these appliances are gone now.
True.
You know, you can't get them. You've got to wait months to get. So the good news is the repair companies have been doing great business here. Can't buy a washing machine, might as well fix this one. It's going to be cheaper than waiting for a new one to come. Yeah,
that's really true.
Yeah, our dryer broke for the second time during the shutdown. Actually, We got it fixed just before they shut everything down.
Great.
The first time it was the belt. This time it's the heating element in there or the thermostat. So I've got to take it apart to find out which one. I'm fixing it this time. I'm not paying somebody $100 to come out here and diagnose the problem when I already know what it is.
No, I agree.
There's
I
only
agree.
3 things it could be. And it's coming on and the timer's going. It's not going as long as it's supposed to, but that's a whole different problem. So what are your plans for the near future, paranormal wise?
Paranormal wise, well, we're trying to get something going on Zoom so we could have our public paranormal meetings, which are really a great success. And I have to thank everybody who is, so devoted to us. They always come to our meetings. We started out with, I think, 10 people. And I think the last meeting we had well over 100. I mean, that was pretty crazy.
With Zoom, you could end up with people from all over the country that want to be involved.
Well, and that's what we were discussing. So I think that's on the agenda. So I think that's definitely something that we're working on. And I think what we're trying to do is build up the website. So Robin Rayome, who is my tech, who is brilliant, she is creating some sort of a room, I think, on our website for a blog. So I think what I'd like to do is get those fingers typing and do some blog entries and write about certain things, such as, our pet topics like orbs.
Well, and you could also get this a vlog, so you don't have to write it all down. You can just make yourself an outline and talk like you do on the show.
That would be a lot of fun too. And that's probably a lot easier for me.
It probably is because you're used to sitting there nice and neat with your legs crossed and your hands there and talking to people. So that might work. And you could probably switch it off with who's talking.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So, we're kind of looking into all kinds of stuff, but we're really grassroots, Denise. Like we don't do anything expensive here. We don't do anything, out of the ordinary, but hey, it's fun and we love it. And we're so popular, and I'm so grateful to everybody who follows us because, as I say, we started out so small, and now so many people are really amazing. They've supported us for so long, so I'm just grateful.
Well, that's good. So the minute it becomes unfun, are you stopping?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. I think that if you're not having fun, why do it?
Yeah. I agree.
Because I feel the same way about my day job. If the minute I'm not having fun with all of it, I'm done. Yeah. So paycheck or not, I like what I do, and the minute I don't know what I'm going to do instead, but I will find something. But again, all the people that we do stuff with, we do it because being with them is fun. The other stuff is just icing on the cake. The paranormal, getting the paranormal evidence is icing. Getting to go to these haunted locations, icing. But it's the friendships that we've built along the way that are the most important.
I agree, 100%.
So, earlier you said you don't know when you guys are going to start filming again for Paranormal Survivor?
Yeah, we don't know yet. Not sure.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that they could do on at least you guys' part anyway, do that remotely. So that's a question I have. If I don't know if you can answer it really quick. How do you feel about remote viewing?
We actually have a friend of the Paranormal Society who does that, and we've actually utilized her services throughout the pandemic, and she's been incredible. Honestly, I believe in it. I've seen it in action, and I have been witness to it being so incredibly helpful to people. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. 100%. I love it.
Perfect. I think it's one of those things that can be controversial in a paranormal investigation, but yet for other people, they find it to be very interesting and very hopeful. And I think it just depends on, again, your opinion. We all have one, and some of them stink, and some of them are, valid. And that's just the way it goes. And I know I just find it interesting. I did some testing with people on remote viewing, didn't tell them where we were going and all this, and had them call me. Would have been great if my phone would have worked, but it worked out. I mean, we got some interesting information from the remote viewing. So, well, I would like to thank you so much for being on. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate everyone for coming back and listening since I've been gone so long. Next week, my guest is Joni Mahan out of New Harmony, Indiana. She does paranormal tours there. She wrote one and started doing it. We drive through there on Interstate 64 when we go to Eastern Kentucky. It's actually the first exit in Indiana on 64. So it's interesting. Her tour sounds very interesting. I can't say I've been to New Harmony. I've just been on the highway by there. And she's an author, and I've heard interviews with her before and that are really good. So I hope you guys will join in next week to hear all the information Joni has to share. I would almost bet you that she's got some UFO stories and some Bigfoot stories based on where she's at. It's a great area there by the Wabash River. So I hope you guys will be here. So thank you so much for being on again, though. But you're listening to WBHM-DB.com out of Birmingham, Alabama. We thank you so much for being here. Have a great night.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.